At 58, I thought I had it all. A marble office overlooking downtown Atlanta, a seven-figure salary, and the respect of every hospital executive in the Southeast. I had built a medical empire from scratch, saved thousands of lives, spoken at global health conferences. But none of it prepared me for what my daughter whispered beside a closed casket. She died waiting for you to come home. In that moment, the air left my lungs. My wife, Emily, had spent the final moments of her life calling my name, while I was half a world away, giving a speech about the ethics of caregiving. 28 years of marriage, and I wasn't there when it mattered most. I missed her last breath, her final words, her eyes closing on a door that never opened. I had delivered countless eulogies for patients, but nothing could explain the silence in my own home. My daughter Lily hadn't spoken to me in months. Friends offered hollow condolences, unsure whether to grieve with me or for me. But this isn't a story about death. It's about the painful path to redemption and the cost of choosing ambition over presence. If you've ever thought you could make it up someday, let me show you what happens when someday never comes. Because the woman I loved most in this world died with hope still in her eyes. And I've spent every day since trying to be the man she believed I could be. This is our story. And if you've got 10 minutes, it might just change the way you live the rest of your life. My earliest memory of purpose wasn't noble. It was fear. I was 10, hunched on the tile floor of a hospital hallway in Savannah, clutching a vending machine sandwich while my mother lay 2 doors down, fighting stage 4 ovarian cancer. A nurse, in scrubs too bright for the mood, sat beside me and said gently, "You should eat, sweetheart. Your mom's strong, but even strong people need help." That sentence never left me. I swore that day I'd grow up and become the kind of help no one had to beg for. By 30, I was well on my way. Top of my class in med school, scholarship offers from the best hospitals. But the day that changed my life wasn't the day I received my white coat. It was the day I met Emily. It was raining, ironic for a graduation day. The kind of southern spring rain that soaks through everything but feels oddly hopeful. I forgot my umbrella. She didn't. She offered me space under hers and introduced herself without apology. Emily Collins, cardiac nurse and future world saver. I remember laughing. Ambitious. I like that. She smiled. Then we'll get along just fine. We'll save the world together. You handle the surgeries. I'll handle the hearts. A year later, we bought a modest 1-story home on the east side of Atlanta. Every tile we chose, every lamp we screwed into place. It felt like building something sacred. Emily made spreadsheets for baby names and painted a mural of stars in the nursery. I took extra shifts, promising I'd secure the promotion we needed for the future. I called it investment. She called it trust. We were young, in love, and sure we'd never hurt each other. But life doesn't wait for you to get everything right. Emily miscarried just weeks after I was promoted to Director of Emergency Operations. She didn't tell me, not until months later, when I asked why she hadn't bought the baby mobile she'd bookmarked. "I lost it," she said one night in the kitchen, her back to me. 3 months ago, you were in Houston, launching the cardiac unit. My mind blanked. "Why didn't you call me?" She rinsed the plate too long. "Because I wanted you to enjoy your moment. You worked so hard." She'd bled in silence while I smiled on stage, held grief in her bones while I shook hands with board members. That was the first fracture, the one I never saw coming. We tried again, and this time it worked. Emily's pregnancy was textbook perfect. She joked through cravings and mood swings, read every parenting blog in existence, and still made time to pack me lunch with handwritten notes. Don't forget to be excited. We're building someone. Lily was born on a humid July afternoon. I wasn't there. A staffing shortage at the trauma center pulled me into a 16-hour shift. Emily went into labor alone. When I got the call, I dropped everything and ran. I missed the delivery by 20 minutes. She held Lily in her arms when I arrived, eyes glassy but smiling. "You're just in time to cut the cord," she whispered. I cried. I told her I'd never miss another moment, that I would be present from the beginning next time. She kissed my cheek and said, "You made it, David. That's what matters." But it wasn't. Not really. You see, I didn't know it yet. But that moment, my arrival just in time to witness the end of a chapter rather than its beginning, would become a pattern. A script I'd unknowingly rehearsed for decades, always arriving after the climax. Always just missing the heartbeat. Emily never made me feel guilty. She carried our family like a symphony, Lily's feedings, the mortgage paperwork, birthday planning, dinner. I told myself I was being a good provider. That showing up meant financial stability. That love was paid for in tuition savings and upgraded appliances. But Emily never cared for stainless steel. She cared about laughter echoing down hallways, bedtime stories, pancakes on Saturdays. And while I was busy writing discharge reports and negotiating vendor contracts, my wife was memorizing the smell of our daughter's scalp, watching her take her first steps, bandaging her knees from bicycle falls I never saw. I didn't know the first word Lily spoke, or when she switched from cartoons to mystery novels. I missed her second birthday, emergency board meeting, her first ballet recital, insurance audit, her first solo piano performance, out-of-town health summit. Every time Emily smiled and said, "We recorded it. You'll love it." And every time I smiled back, ashamed, and said, "Next time I'll be there." But I never was. I was always just in time for the ending. It happened slowly, like fog inching over a lake at dawn. You don't realize you're surrounded until you can't see anything clearly anymore. Every year, we took a family photo in front of the fireplace. At first, it was cute. Me in scrubs, racing home just in time to hold Lily on my lap while Emily clicked the camera timer. The next year, I joined through a Zoom call. The year after that, Emily and Lily posed without me, leaving an empty chair between them. They stopped mentioning it. I told myself, next time. The photos began to look like tributes to someone recently lost, and in a way they were. I was still breathing, still paying the mortgage, still present in legal terms. But emotionally, I had become a ghost. Emily never confronted me directly. That wasn't her style. But one night, I opened her laptop to print a boarding pass, and a document was already on the screen. Absent chronologically. It wasn't poetry. It was clinical. Dated entries, timestamps, quotes. Lily asked if David still lived here. I said yes. I think I lied. 3 missed recitals. I stopped buying him tickets. Mother's Day. He sent flowers from a conference in Phoenix. I threw them away. It was a journal, but not for herself. It was a logbook for history, for truth, for proof that this wasn't sudden. I read for 5 minutes. I could have kept reading. I should have. But I closed the laptop, walked away, and convinced myself, this is emotional overreaction. I don't have time for guilt. I didn't realize it then, but that decision, not to read, not to listen, was another entry waiting to be written. Lily was 7 when she stopped asking if I'd be there. It didn't come with a tantrum, just silence, resignation. Her questions became statements. Dad won't be at the play, right? Don't wait for him, Mom. He's working. It's okay. I'll just show you my lines after. Emily once bought 2 tickets to a ballet show Lily had begged to attend. I was scheduled to fly out that night but promised to reschedule. The night of the performance, the second ticket remained unused. Emily held it like a relic. Lily didn't mention it. I remember getting home late and seeing both of them asleep on the couch. Lily's hair tousled, her cheeks smeared with faint makeup. Emily had changed out of her dress, but left her earrings on, like she'd given up halfway through getting ready for bed. There was Chinese takeout on the table, one untouched container. My favorite. I tossed it in the trash and tiptoed upstairs. The next morning, Lily barely looked at me. Emily kissed my cheek and said, "We recorded it. You'll love it." Her tone was sweet, tired, distant. That's how she sounded before she stopped trying. Lily, once animated and affectionate, turned inward. She spent more time in her room, developed a fascination with crime novels, and started correcting me when I mispronounced character names. Names I didn't recognize, from shows they watched without me. At dinner, she'd answer with nods or shrugs. At first, I chalked it up to adolescence. Then I overheard her whisper to a friend on the phone, "He doesn't live here. He just visits sometimes." One night, while tucking Lily in, a rare event, I asked, "Is everything okay?" She paused, pulled the blanket to her chin, and said, "Mom cries in the bathroom when she thinks I'm asleep." I stood there, frozen. I wanted to ask more, to offer comfort, but I didn't. I kissed her forehead and left, telling myself, tomorrow I'll talk to Emily. But tomorrow never came. That week, Emily was in a car accident. Nothing life-threatening, a fractured wrist and some bruised ribs. I rushed to the hospital, canceled a board meeting for the first time in years. She lay in the ER bed, pale but composed. I held her hand and said, "You scared me." She smiled weakly. "You came." "Of course I came." Her eyes flickered. "You always come after the storm, David. Never before." She turned her face to the window, and I saw something in her expression I hadn't seen in years. Resignation. Not anger, not sadness, just the tiredness of someone who's stopped hoping. It wasn't until days later, helping her organize her emails while she healed, that I saw it. An unsent draft. Subject line, "Time to let go." The message read, "David, I can't do this anymore. I still love you, but I can't live alone while married. I need more than receipts and flowers. I need a partner. If you get this, it means I've found the courage to ask for space. If you don't, then I guess I chickened out again." It had been written 3 days before the accident. I stared at it for hours. My fingers hovered over the delete key, but I didn't press it. I just closed the laptop. Again, there were so many moments I could have chosen to change course, to lean in, to ask the questions that scared me, but I didn't. And the truth is, by the time I wanted to try, part of my family had already started living without me. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was standing on stage in San Francisco, delivering a keynote on medical ethics, quoting research about empathy in end-of-life care. Behind me, a massive screen displayed my name, credentials, and the title of the talk. Presence as Medicine. The crowd of doctors, hospital CEOs, and international press applauded as I clicked to the next slide. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Once, twice, 3 times. I glanced down briefly. Emily. I hesitated. I never ignored her. I usually let it go to voicemail and called back between sessions. But I was mid-sentence, in front of hundreds. So I did what I'd trained myself to do. I pressed ignore. After all, I'd text her afterward. Maybe she was just checking in on Lily or reminding me about an insurance form. But 10 minutes later, it buzzed again. This time, Lily. That was strange. She never called. I silenced the phone and wrapped up the speech with a line I'd used dozens of times. Presence is the most powerful medicine we can give, because when we show up, healing begins. The applause was loud, but in my chest, something had shifted. As I stepped off stage, the event coordinator ran up with a worried look. "Dr. Marks, your assistant just called the front desk. Your wife's been admitted to Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta. Cardiac unit. They said it's serious." I froze. Within the hour, I was on a red-eye flight back. My mind spun through worst-case scenarios, but nothing prepared me for what came next. When I arrived, Emily was already unconscious. Machines beeped around her. Tubes ran from her arms. Her face, so familiar, looked smaller somehow. Fragile. Lily sat in the corner, arms wrapped around herself, mascara smudged. She didn't speak when I entered, just nodded toward the bed. A nurse approached. Her badge read Michelle Collins. Emily's maiden name. I blinked. "Michelle?" She gave me a long look. We were college roommates. I remembered her vaguely, weddings, baby showers. "She's been in a coma for 36 hours, Michelle said softly. "My shift started 2 hours ago. She hasn't responded to pain or light. Her brain scans show minimal activity." I reached for Emily's hand. It was warm, but limp. No grip. "What happened?" I whispered. "Massive cardiac event. They think it started midday Thursday." Thursday, the day of my speech. Michelle didn't say it, but her eyes did. She had tried to warn me, and she had. I found the emails later. 6 messages over the past 6 months, each one a gentle nudge. Subject lines like, "Emily seems tired lately. Have you noticed a change? Just a heads up." I'd flagged them as low priority. On the 3rd night, just before dawn, her vitals dropped. Doctors rushed in. Lily was ushered out. I stood there, helpless, watching machines fail. Her heart stopped at 5:41 a.m. I wasn't holding her hand. I wasn't in the room. I was in the hallway, signing a consent form for organ donation. That was the last decision I ever made for her. The funeral was scheduled for the following Sunday. Closed casket, per her wishes. The church overflowed with patients, co-workers, friends, faces I recognized from hospital boards and holiday cards, faces I hadn't seen in years. I stood near the front, holding Lily's elbow gently as we walked to the podium. She didn't look at me. When it was her turn to speak, she stepped up, cleared her throat, and said, "My mom taught me how to tie my shoes, how to apologize when you're wrong, how to sing off-key with pride. She taught me how to be strong." She paused. Then her voice cracked. "And she taught me how to wait." A beat of silence. She waited for my dad to come home for 28 years. She waited when he missed ballet recitals. She waited through holidays, birthdays, anniversaries. She waited when she was sick, and she waited when her heart started giving out. The room was still. I didn't breathe. Lily looked straight ahead. "She died waiting for you to come home, Dad." No gasp, no anger, just truth, laid bare. I wanted to stand, to explain, but there was nothing to say. Later that afternoon, as I stood alone by the casket, Michelle approached quietly. "She woke up, you know." My throat tightened. "What?" Michelle nodded. "She regained consciousness for about 30 minutes the night before she passed. just long enough to ask one question. I stared at her. She asked if you were coming. I told her you were on a flight. She nodded once, then closed her eyes again. Tears welled in mine. Why didn't anyone call me? I did, Michelle said gently. I called, I emailed, for months. I told her you were busy, but you loved her. She believed me. She handed me something, Emily's wedding ring. It had been removed before the IV insertion. She never took this off, Michelle added. Not once. I looked down at the simple gold band. There were tiny nicks on the inside, like scars. She still believed you'd come, Michelle said, even at the end. And that's what broke me, not her death, but her faith in me, preserved to her final breath. She died believing I'd show up, and I didn't. Grief is a vacuum. It doesn't scream or wail. It just swallows sound until everything is quiet. In the weeks following Emily's funeral, I stopped showing up to board meetings. My name stayed on the executive roll call, but I was gone. I wandered the halls of the hospital like a man searching for a ghost. Everywhere I looked, I saw her. The corner where she once caught me napping between shifts. The cafe where she'd sneak extra sugar packets into her bag just in case. The nurse's station she lit up like a star. One day, I stood in the atrium lobby and stared at the plaque bearing my name. David Marks, MD, founder and chief executive. For the first time, it made me nauseous. That afternoon, I handed in my resignation. The board panicked. They offered more money, a private office, sabbatical time, even a chair position on the National Hospital Alliance. I refused them all. Instead, I liquidated every share I owned in the company and announced the founding of a nonprofit, the Emily Foundation, a support network for single mothers in the medical field, childcare stipends, mental health grants, grief counseling, career re-entry programs. We launched it on what would have been Emily's birthday. The auditorium was filled with nurses, staff, journalists, former patients, and donors. A documentary team was filming. I was supposed to give a prepared statement. I crumpled it. I stepped up to the podium and looked into 100 expectant faces. I failed as a husband, I began, my voice raw. Let me not fail as a man. The room hushed. I spent decades preaching about healing, about ethics, about showing up. But I forgot that the first vow I ever took wasn't the Hippocratic oath. It was the one I made to Emily. To be her partner, her equal, her presence. I paused. She died waiting for me to come home. I can't fix that, but maybe I can build something that prevents another woman from dying the same way. Applause thundered. Some people cried. Others stood. But I didn't see the only person I needed to. Lily wasn't there. Afterward, I searched the guest list. Her name wasn't registered. No text, no call. But when I returned to the front row, where family members had been seated, I found something. On the velvet cushion, where she might have sat, lay a single white orchid. Emily's favorite flower. No note, no signature. Just silence wrapped in elegance. Grief comes in gestures. That night, I wrote Lily a letter. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to know that I see it now. Every missing moment, every broken promise, every empty chair I left behind. If it helps, I miss them too now. I miss them all the time. Love, Dad. I left it at her doorstep, alongside a copy of the Emily Foundation's charter and a Polaroid of her mother taken 20 years ago. Emily, laughing, flower on her nose, holding Lily as a baby. The next week, I returned and left another letter. Then the next, and the next. 7 weeks passed. No response. Then, one night, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text. You can stop now. I stared at the screen for minutes. I replied, "Can we talk?" No answer. 3 days later, I stood in the rain outside her apartment with an umbrella and a manila envelope. She didn't open the door, but the next morning, a text came through. "You don't get to rewrite history with flowers and nonprofits." I sat on the curb and typed for what felt like hours before deleting it all. Instead, I wrote something simple. "I know. I'm not asking to rewrite it. I just want to be in whatever pages come next." No reply. A month passed. I kept writing. No more flowers, no more emails, just ink, paper, and the occasional photo. And then came her response. A single sentence. "You can't repair a foundation that never existed." That hurt more than anything, because it was true. My presence had always been a patch, never a pillar. I stopped leaving letters for a while. I thought maybe I'd pushed too far. Then I started drafting my will. I had no spouse, no siblings, just one daughter who had every right to shut me out. Still, I left everything to her. The house, the royalties from the foundation's publications, the remaining investment accounts. But I didn't stop there. I included a letter. "If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. Maybe for a long time. Maybe just yesterday. I don't know if we ever got to reconcile. I hope we did. But if we didn't, I need you to know. Even if you never said it, even if you never forgave me, I loved you. I failed your mother. And I failed you. But I never stopped being your father. That doesn't earn me anything. It's just the truth. This isn't about legacy. It's about love. You can throw this all away, but it's yours if you want it. I still hope." I left it with the lawyer, then went back to living small, volunteering, gardening, therapy, waiting, not for an answer, but for peace. And then one evening, returning from a food bank shift, I found a letter on my doorstep. Cream envelope, my name in sharp cursive. Inside, it read, "Stop trying to redeem the past. Just show up now. If you can do that, maybe we can talk." No signature. But I knew that handwriting anywhere. Emily used to write the same way. The first time Lily invited me over, it wasn't for dinner or a heart-to-heart. It was to hand me a photograph. We met at a park bench, the one by the duck pond where she and Emily used to feed stale bread and make up stories about duck families. She sat with her legs crossed, posture stiff, like someone keeping their seat out of politeness, not comfort. She slid the photo across the bench toward me. No words. I picked it up. It was Emily, laughing, mid-spin, holding toddler Lily upside down by the legs. Her hair was tied up, cheeks flushed, her eyes squinted with joy. "I found it going through her old keepsake box," Lily said. "It was hidden behind the birthday cards she never sent." I looked up, my throat thick. "She never hated you, you know," Lily said, barely above a whisper. "She just hurt. She used to say, 'David's not cruel, he's just absent,' and absence after a while becomes its own kind of pain." I closed my eyes. "She'd cry in the kitchen," Lily continued. "Not loudly, just little sounds, like breathing through cracked glass." We sat in silence. The breeze tugged at the edge of the photo. Then Lily added, almost as an afterthought, "Before she died, Mom wrote me a letter." I turned to her, my heartbeat quickening. "She told me to forgive you, but only if you ever realized what you'd done. Not just said it, but really knew it." I swallowed hard. "I know it, Lily." She looked at me for a long time. "Then come with me." We drove in separate cars to the house I hadn't seen in almost a decade, the one Emily and I bought when Lily was born. A small, weathered place on a quiet street, its shutters faded but still intact. Out back, beneath the old trellis, Emily's orchid vines still bloomed. Dozens of white petals, tangled but defiant, climbing toward sunlight like they remembered her hands guiding them. Lily stood beside me, arms folded. She tended this until the week before. Her voice broke. She used to say, "No matter how tangled things get, these will still bloom." I crouched down, touched one of the blossoms. She was always more patient than I deserved. "You said that once," Lily said. "When?" She wrote it in her journal. "You said it in your sleep." She recorded it. I looked at her, stunned. "She used to play it when she missed you, like proof that some part of you still loved her, even if your waking self forgot." The vines swayed gently in the wind. That night I offered to cook. She hesitated, then said, "Only if it's pancakes." We shopped together. I followed her list exactly, even though I'd always winged it before. In the kitchen, we moved awkwardly at first. Two strangers sharing blood, muscle memory, and a ghost between us. But something shifted when the first pancake flipped. "You know," I said, stirring the batter, "your mom picked me, not the other way around." Lily raised an eyebrow. "We were just interns back then. I was all books and ambition. She was warmth wrapped in confidence. I thought she was out of my league." "She was," Lily smirked. I laughed, surprised. "Fair." I handed her the spatula. She flipped the next pancake clean. "She saw something in me I didn't even see in myself yet," I continued. "She believed I could be more than just a doctor, that I could be a person worth loving." Lily didn't speak at first, just kept flipping pancakes. Then quietly she said, "I wish she could have seen you cry." I blinked. "What?" "She thought you didn't feel anything. That work numbed you." I wiped my hands on a towel. She wasn't wrong. I didn't let myself feel because I was scared that if I did, I'd break. And if I broke, I'd fail everyone. Lily turned toward me, her eyes full. "You already had," she said softly. "You just didn't see it." I nodded, tears rising. "I know." And then she did something I never expected. She stepped forward and hugged me, not tightly, not long, but real. I held her like she was 2 years old again, like I'd missed every chance to hold her since. And maybe this was one I wouldn't waste. "I wish Mom were here," she whispered into my shoulder. "I wish she could see this, see you." I couldn't answer. I just squeezed tighter. After dinner, we sat on the couch, the plates still on the counter, the scent of maple syrup clinging to the air. Lily pulled out her phone and showed me a voice memo. Emily's voice crackled to life. Soft, tender. If David ever comes back, if he ever says sorry without trying to fix it with money or gestures, if he just sits in it, tell him I forgave him a long time ago. I just didn't want to be the only one saying it out loud. I pressed my hand over my face, weeping quietly. "Welcome home, Dad," Lily said. And this time, it didn't feel like a gesture. It felt like truth. The rain had started before dawn, steady and cold. I stood beneath a black umbrella at the cemetery, boots sinking slightly into the soft earth, a leather-bound journal clenched in my hands. Emily's grave was simple. No stone angels, no etched poetry. Just her name, the dates, and 3 words below. Still loved, always. I knelt, ignoring the wet grass, and opened the journal. I'd found it weeks after that night with Lily, buried in a sealed box under our bed at the old house. The cover smelled like cedar and faint lavender. Her handwriting filled every page, slanted, neat, emotional in restraint. I began to read aloud, letting the words mix with rain. May 3rd. David missed dinner again. Lily pretended not to care, but she left his chair empty. I think she still hopes. June 17th. He called to say goodnight. I cried after. It's stupid, but I miss his voice saying my name in person. October 10th. I danced with Lily in the living room tonight. She twirled like she was floating. I almost asked David to join. Almost. Each entry hurt in a different way. The absences, the longing, the soft forgiveness hidden under sarcasm. Halfway through, I had to stop. My throat was raw. The rain didn't let up. But neither did I. When I reached the final page, something new caught my eye. It wasn't dated like the others. It was addressed. To David, if you're reading this, it means you finally slowed down enough to see what was always right in front of you. I never left you. I never stopped loving you. I just stopped waiting out loud. You weren't cruel. You were absent. And in the quiet between your visits, I learned to live without you. But I always hoped that one day you'd remember how to come home. If you're reading this, it means you still can be the man I married. Not the one with the corner office, not the one on stage, but the one who danced with me in the kitchen at 2 a.m. because Lily had colic and we were delirious and laughing. That man is still in there, and I still love him. The wind picked up. I closed the journal slowly and set it down beside the flowers Lily had left a day earlier. Orchids, white and soft. Thank you, I whispered. It wasn't for forgiveness. It was for the permission to still become something better. 1 year later, Lily gave birth to a baby girl. She named her Emily Grace. She didn't tell me in advance. I found out in the hospital room when I walked in and saw her holding the infant against her chest, whispering the name. I broke down, not from grief, but because I knew in that moment something had come full circle. I held my granddaughter a few hours later. She gripped my finger, her eyes impossibly blue, just like her grandmother's. I'll be there, I whispered to her. Every damn time. In the months that followed, I wrote, every morning before sunrise, no meetings, no charts, just my thoughts, my regrets, my journey. The manuscript was titled She Died Waiting. Publishers hesitated at first. Too sad, too vulnerable, too raw. But the story spread like wildfire. Hospitals began using excerpts in empathy training. Grief counselors quoted it. Nurses passed it to each other in break rooms. Then a filmmaker approached me. Can we tell her story? He asked. I don't want to be the center, I replied. You won't be, he promised. She will. The documentary aired a year later. Archival footage, letters, interviews with staff, patients, friends, and of course Lily. Her segment was last. Shot in our old backyard. The orchid vines blooming behind her. The interviewer asked, how would you describe your father? Lily looked down, thoughtful, then back at the camera. He wasn't a good dad, not for a long time, but he became a great grandfather and a better man than I expected. She paused, smiled faintly. I think my mom would have liked who he turned into. The screen faded to black. I watched that segment more times than I can count. Not for pride, but for reminder. Because the truth is, redemption doesn't erase failure. It just proves that love, when given a second chance, can echo further than the mistake ever reached, and some echoes last forever.